Bergeron a one-timer. Save Reimer. Rebound loose on the top of the crease. Bergeron score! Bergeron!
Hey there, hockey fans. Welcome to another episode of Hockey Talk, where we dish out all the juicy details about the NHL. I'm your host with the most, and today we're talking about the Boston Bruins. These guys just made history by becoming the fourth team ever to reach 60 wins in a single season. Can you believe it? I sure can't. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of how they pulled off this amazing feat. The Bruins had a season filled with more drama than a daytime soap opera. They lost their captain to free agency, their goalie to injury, and their top scorer to COVID-19 protocols. Talk about a tough break, but did they let that get them down? Heck no, they came out swinging with a fierce determination that would make Rocky Balboa proud. They showed off their impressive skills, incredible resilience, and enough passion to light up a city. The Bruins had some pretty awesome players stepping up to lead the way. The veterans like Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, and David Krejci showed the young guns how it's done. And speaking of young guns, Charlie McAvoy, Taylor Hall, and Jeremy Swayman were on fire this season. Plus, the Bruins had some killer teamwork and chemistry that made them practically unbeatable. Now, let's talk about what this means for the playoffs. The Bruins have clinched the President's Trophy, which is like getting the gold star in class for being the best. But here's the catch. No team that's won the President's Trophy has made it to the Stanley Cup final in the past 9 seasons. Talk about a curse. But these guys are determined to break that streak and bring home the cup for the first time since 2011. They know that they've got some tough opponents ahead of them, starting with either the New York Islanders or the Washington Capitals. But they're not afraid to take on anyone. The Bruins aren't letting their impressive record go to their heads, though. They know that it doesn't mean a thing if they don't win 16 more games in the playoffs. They're staying focused, disciplined, and hungry for that cup. They know that anything can happen in the playoffs, so they're not taking anything for granted. Yo, let's talk about the PK Subban drama. This dude's been in the headlines lately for some spicy comments on activism and pride jerseys in hockey. Now, PK is a well-known player and philanthropist, but he's been catching some heat for saying that NHL players don't need to be activists and that they don't have to wear pride jerseys to show their support. Excuse me, sir, what happened to all that social justice talk? PK's argument is that we shouldn't force players to be activists and that they can support the LGBTQ plus community in other ways. But come on, PK. Wearing a pride jersey is a powerful statement that shows solidarity and love for a group that has faced discrimination and violence for way too long. Plus, let's not forget that hockey has a long history of homophobia and transphobia, and wearing a pride jersey is a way to challenge that culture and make the sport more inclusive for everyone. We need to be better allies and show our support loud and proud, not hide behind closed doors. And don't even get me started on PK's claim that the media is pushing false narratives. Sorry, PK, but they're just reporting on the facts, like how some teams have embraced Pride Night initiatives and others have rejected them. We can't just ignore the truth because it makes us uncomfortable, my dude, so let's get real here, PK. It's time to step up and be the social justice warrior you claim to be. Wear that pride jersey with pride. Use your platform to speak out against injustice, and let's make hockey a more inclusive and loving sport for everyone. Hey there, sports fans. Let's talk about the Boston Bruins, a.k.a. the Big Bad Bruins, a.k.a. the current President's Trophy winners. These guys have been killing it all season long, but there's one thing they need to work on before heading into the playoffs: their power play. Apparently, they've got the worst power play percentage in the league at a measly 13.7%. What the puck? With all their offensive talent, you'd think that they'd be scoring left and right with the man advantage. If they don't figure out a way to step up their power play game, they could be in hot water when facing off against some tough competition. The Tampa Bay Lightning are in second place in the Atlantic, and they have already clinched a playoff berth as well. The Lightning have been one of the most explosive teams in the league, scoring more goals than anyone else. However, they also have some defensive issues that they need to sort out before the playoffs. The Lightning have allowed the third most goals against in the league, and they have been inconsistent in their own end. The Lightning need to tighten up their defensive structure and play more disciplined hockey, or they could be vulnerable to teams that can match their firepower. The Toronto Maple Leafs are in third place in the Atlantic, and they are on the verge of clinching a playoff spot as well. The Leafs have been one of the most improved teams in the league, thanks to their new coach Sheldon Keefe and their revamped roster. The Leafs have been playing a more balanced and dynamic game with contributions from all four lines and both special teams units. However, they also have some injury concerns that they need to monitor before the playoffs. The Leafs have been without some key players like Austin Matthews, Morgan Rielly, Jake Muzzin, and Frederik Andersen for various stretches of time, and they need to make sure they are healthy and ready for the postseason. The Florida Panthers are in fourth place in the Atlantic, and they are still fighting for a wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. The Panthers have been one of the most disappointing teams in the league, failing to live up to their high expectations after signing Sergei Bobrovsky and hiring Joel Quenneville. The Panthers have been inconsistent and unreliable all season long, especially on defense and goaltending. The Panthers need to find a way to play with more urgency and consistency in these final games, or they could miss the playoffs for the fourth straight year. The Montreal Canadiens are in fifth place in the Atlantic, and they are mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. The Canadiens have been one of the most unlucky teams in the league, losing many close games and suffering from injuries and illnesses. The Canadiens have nothing left to play for except pride and development, so their top priority for the rest of the season is to give their young players more ice time and experience. The Canadiens have some promising prospects like Nick Suzuki, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Ryan Poehling, Alexander Romanov, and Cole Caulfield, who could benefit from playing meaningful NHL games and learning from veterans like Shea Weber and Carey Price. The Ottawa Senators are in sixth place in the Atlantic, and they are also mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. The Senators have been one of the most surprising teams in the league, exceeding their low expectations and playing with a lot of heart and grit. The Senators have nothing left to play for except pride and draft position, so their top priority for the rest of the season is to lose as many games as possible without looking too obvious. The Senators have a chance to land a franchise-changing player in the 2023 NHL Draft, where they could end up with 2 lottery picks thanks to their trade with San Jose last year. The Senators could use a star like Shane Wright or Matthew Savoy to accelerate their rebuild and give their fans some hope for the future. Oh boy, it's time to talk about the Buffalo Sabres, the team that's been about as disappointing as a soggy sandwich. They're currently sitting in 7th place in the Atlantic Division, and they've already been eliminated from playoff contention. That's right, they can pack their bags and head home early this year, folks. And it's no surprise that Sabres fans are feeling pretty deflated. They've got a team with so much potential, yet they seem to have squandered yet another year of Jack Eichel's prime. Even with a new coach, Ralph Krueger, they haven't made any significant progress. So, what's left for the Sabres to play for? Well, it's all about pride and draft position now. They need to try to lose as many games as possible without looking like they're throwing in the towel. It's like trying to walk a tightrope while wearing roller skates. But hey, maybe they'll land themselves a top draft pick and turn things around next year. Or maybe they'll just keep doing what they've been doing and remain a hot mess. Only time will tell.